Getting really good at talking with other people is the #1 thing you can do to quickly improve your life. Do you want to make more money, have a ton of friends, and find a 10 out of 10 wife? Just learn how to speak well. We all know those guys that can stroll into any room and immediately strike up conversations with random people. While you may resent that guy for chatting up your crush while you just stood in the corner watching, don't worry, because by the end of this video, you'll be that guy too. And while this video is not specifically about talking to girls, considering about 98% of you from my last video were dudes, I'm gonna take a wild guess and assume you guys would also like some specific advice about talking to girls. We'll get to that a bit later, but first you need to understand how to actually have good conversations in general. Let's start with opening a conversation with anyone. I'm gonna keep this extremely simple. Just walk up and either give them a compliment, make an observation, ask a question, or a combination of those three. From here, you'll see how receptive they are to talking and learn whether or not to keep going. And this should be pretty obvious from their reaction. From here, I need you to become a fisherman. What I mean is, in those first few lines of conversation, keep an eye out for commonalities or things you can expand upon. For example, if they say they're from Colorado and you're a skier, then ask them about skiing, because if they're from Colorado, they're probably a fucking skier. You send your hook out to the sea and wait for it to bite. Find those common points. This is also how you keep a conversation going and never run out of things to say. Just keep searching for those points you can expand on in the conversation. If you find yourself at a roadblock where nothing really stands out, either ask another relevant question or backtrack and say something about an earlier topic in the conversation. Now, let's move to the most important principle of being good at communicating. Simply allow the other person to do the vast majority of the talking. Think about it. People's favorite thing to talk about is themselves. So if you just let them do all the talking and make them feel special, that person will walk away from the conversation thinking not only did they have a great time talking with you, but that you're also an incredible conversationalist. It's really fucking cheesy, but that's exactly why they say you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You may be thinking, well, conversations are a two-way street. I'm gonna have to talk at some point. And you're right. That's why the second most important principle of good conversation is learning how to tell stories. If the other person asks you a question, try answering it with a story. It's 10 times more entertaining to listen to. If you can tell stories well, it's almost like putting the other person in a trance. Think about when you watch a really good movie and you're fully immersed in the characters. This is exactly what happens when you learn how to communicate stories effectively. But how do you actually tell good stories? The best way to explain this is with an example of good versus shit storytelling in the exact same situation. So we were at the store and all of a sudden a guy comes through the door with a knife in his hand. He goes up to the register and starts demanding all the cash from the guy there. Then out of nowhere, another customer hits the knife out of the burglar's hand and takes him to the ground. So we're at Target just going about our day, and out of nowhere, some dude bursts through the door, big ass knife in hand, and goes right to the register. I'm looking around watching this happen thinking, I'm no Paul Blart Mall cop. I'm not saving the day here because I don't want to get stabbed. Then all of a sudden, I see this big dude, must have been a bodybuilder or something like that, rolls up on this guy, basically karate chops the knife out of his hand and takes this dude to the ground. Craziest thing I've ever seen. So of course, you'd want to listen to the second story rather than the first one. In the second story, I implemented humor, emphasized my tone, used more descriptive language, and most importantly, immersed the listener in the story. My best advice for learning to tell good stories is just listening to podcasts and videos of great speakers, then trying to talk in a similar way to them. Then just practice in the real world and see how people react. The more you do it, the better you'll get, and before you know it, you're the best storyteller you know. Now, the other principle for having great conversations is a little mindset hack that will make you feel more confident, charismatic, and outgoing. I don't want to get too deep, but understand that life out in public is all just theater. Everyone is like an actor in a movie. They get ready in the morning to look their best for other people. They smile at the neighbors because it would be rude not to, and say thank you to the barista at the coffee shop. Everyone is just playing a role in society, and when you realize that everyone is just trying their best to act normal, it takes a lot of pressure off your shoulders. Corporate life is theater, dating is theater, even friendships are theater. So where am I going with this? Well, stop trying so hard. Let the conversation flow. Say things unapologetically. Exaggerate how you speak. Nobody really cares that much, and if you look at everything like a big game, it's like a breath of fresh air from the monotony of daily life. Just have fun with conversations, and if someone doesn't like that, then f them. They can go back to their boring f***ing lives without us. A great trick for implementing this playfulness into conversations is pretending you're in a movie and a camera crew is filming your life. How would you tell this story if this was a scene in a major blockbuster movie? I'm sure you'll make the story much more entertaining and the other person will love listening to you. Now, for the moment all you guys have been waiting for, learning the specifics and chatting with the ladies. I'm not going to go super deep into this because this could be an entire video on its own, but I'll run you through some of the basics. In talking to a girl you find attractive, use all of the principles I've mentioned so far as the base of the conversation, but there are 3 pillars that you need to focus on. These are humor, flirting, and compliments. Starting with humor, this is exactly how to make a girl feel comfortable around you and enjoy your company. It's 2024. The first 5 minutes of any conversation with a random girl consists them testing the waters to ensure you're not a creep. Be funny, don't be so serious, and sure as hell, don't be creepy. Next, compliments and flirting, I'm gonna toss into the same bucket. Give 1 to 2 genuine compliments to a girl in the conversation. This puts your intentions right out there in a very obvious way, and the conversation will get a little bit tense or awkward. Just hold your frame and be confident in yourself. Then, for flirting, this is where you can have fun and playfully push away in an obvious way. It's essentially just putting clear intentions out there, then slightly retracting it for playful banter. It's like when you're hanging out with the guys and call one of them an idiot. It's just playful back and forth chat. It keeps things interesting and fun. The other aspect of talking with random girls is you have to be very vigilant in looking for signs that the other person isn't interested. You can be the top male model in the world and there will still be girls who just aren't interested. That's life. Once you recognize disinterest, just say, well, it was lovely meeting you. Have a great day. Then simply walk away. Don't be one of those creepy guys who awkwardly tries to keep the conversation going or hangs out next to her after the conversation ends. And honestly, to start, that's all you really need. Humor, compliments, flirting, and knowing when to bounce. Everything else should be filled in by the other conversational skills that I've already talked about. And that is it, gentlemen. Now go out and be that guy that everyone loves having conversations with.